We are Legion.
What is up, comic fam? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm marking it Sunday night. That means this is at Weeks in the spoiler field. Look back at this week in comics and so much more. And tonight is a very special episode with The Batman just having premiered this past week. We are doing a spoiler extravaganza of that film. But before we get into that, check this out. Let's give a quick shout out to Big Time Collectibles for sponsoring the monthly Legion loot box for the channel members. We will be doing the drawing tonight for the Legion tier members that are entered in that monthly giveaway. So thank you to them, as well as Justin Comics on Instagram. Hit them up if you need anything cleaned or pressed. Use that promo code We Are Legion and take advantage of the current special offer running. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and bring in the panel. We have a special panel tonight, a few extra guests, but as always, I am joined by my heterosexual life partner from the Great White North, the one, the only, Chris, the comic vet. What is happening?
What's going on, my man? Let's
Nothing
get
much.
into this. Let's get into
Yeah,
this.
let's go and roll them in. So Ryan, our usual tripod member, cannot be here tonight. He has not seen the movie. He's actually helping a friend with some car difficulties, but we do have some other panels. We have that slick sexual Tyrannosaurus himself. He needs no introduction. The one, the only, Nick's Kicks and Comics. What is up?
I was going to be mad if you pulled up DJ.
What is up, brother? You ready to get into this?
I was like, who's he going to pull up? I'm ready, man. My atomic batteries are ready.
I can see all y'all backstage. And as soon as I said that, Nick was looking down. He looks up. He starts thinking. He's like, what the hell?
Wasn't sure.
All right. And we got another man. Go ahead and hide your wives, hide your beard oil. We got one of the baddest beards on YouTube here tonight, accompanied by the man behind it. We got Greg, the bearded comic, bro. What is happening, bro?
Not much, my friend. I've got my shark repellent spray. I'm ready to talk Batman.
Comes prepared.
Yes. So I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll, my friend.
And we have one more special guest tonight. It's the goodest dude from the baddest side of the tracks. Go ahead, make some noise, spread some love, because after all, it is the Brooklyn way. The one, the only, Mr. DJ Links.
Where's Rachel? Where's the trailer? Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
What is happening?
Thank you for having me, brother.
Oh, dude, I appreciate you coming on. So it was probably like what? Probably about a month ago, I initially reached out to you and Nick and asked if y'all would be down to do what we normally do after these big releases. And yeah, here we are. Greg, it was last minute for you. I saw where you posted that you had seen it. I'm like, there's no better time to ask Greg to come join this show than tonight. You're probably the biggest Batman fan that I know.
I try to be.
Yeah, you do it. It isn't necessarily about how many keys you own or how many Batman shirts you have. It's where your heart is, and it shows. You love the character, and I feel like this was a personal victory for you as a Batman fan, so I'm glad that you can make it.
Oh, it was.
Let's say hello to the chat real quick. We got Paul Rogers up in here, channel member. Ruben Guzman, what is going on? We got Chip Getler up in here, another channel member. TM Nerdy, thank you for being a channel member. Thank you for being here. We got Free Energy up in the chat. Where is she? Oh, wrong Batman. List Eman, so he was in the group chat earlier tonight, making apologies for being critical ahead of time. He laid out a long, drawn-out formal apology. It was beautiful,
and it was much needed.
It takes a big man to admit when he's wrong. Good for you, E.
Brother John, if you're still in the chat, I appreciate you popping in. Be sure to catch the rewind of tonight after you get a chance to see the movie.
Oh, we're doing spoilers?
Let's talk Batman. Hashtag We Are Legion. Digger Jim, good to see you tonight. Pop Static is up in the building. Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Let's go. Free Energy hyped. I appreciate everyone being here tonight. Cup of Comics is up in the chat. What is happening, my man? How are you doing tonight? All right. Chep, what is happening? Glad you can make it. Taylor Winder's up in here. Is he a T-Rex because his arms can't reach his junk? As long as they can reach mine, we're good to go. Let's keep it moving. Blue Hellion Comics up in the building. What is happening, Dan?
Jesus Christ.
Mars Comics, how's it going? Christopher Brooks is up in here. Mad Spidey. No spoilers, Nick.
Can't promise you nothing, Spotty.
Yeah, it's not going to happen tonight. Not going to happen tonight. Andre dropping the Russian bot links. I appreciate that, my man. If anybody's looking for some Ver life, be sure to hit that link tonight and get you some of that Ver.
Ver life.
Brr.
Mr. Mom killed it as Cape Crusader.
Sure did.
Yeah, nailed it. What is going on, Hefe? And a big shout out and thank you to Jeff down there. One of the books that is being given away tonight for the channel members was one that he donated to the 1,000 subscriber giveaway that was not claimed. So as promised, anything that was not claimed would be put into this giveaway. And that is the CBCS 9.8 signed Ryan Brown exclusive for ASM 25. So you're buying this for the cover. Obviously, it's slabbed. It is Nick Spencer. So thank God it's slabbed in that case.
I got notes. I'm ready.
I would pay good money to watch a T-Rex
notes?
give
You
someone a
came
handy.
prepared.
Yeah, man.
Get your wallet ready. I'm going to pull out my T-Rex costume right after this. All right. Look, y'all already know where we're going with this, but this movie's been a long time coming, a long time since it was initially announced. It was a victim of the COVID lockdown and numerous shutdowns during production when they were trying to get it done well after the pandemic had started. We finally got the first really good look at this film 2 years ago at DC Fandom when they dropped the first images of it. And then it was last year at the DC Fandom event when they gave us the trailer. And then it's almost surreal that it came out. I feel like now that it's here, I feel like it got here quick. But it was nothing short of amazing for me. Just first off, let's just go around and give initial thoughts. I know that I'm glad that everyone does not share the same opinion, so we're not going to crucify you, Chris. Not for this, at least.
Okay.
Maybe for being Canadian, but we'll let that slide.
Oh,
We're not going to crucify him?
I feel like the whole Canadian
I'm
thing is getting played out now.
Okay.
Babe, put away the cross and nails.
I thought it was very good.
Perfect.
I thought it was very good.
Okay, Nick, what'd you think? Wow.
I mean, Chris said all that there is to be said. I mean, how can I expand on that?
Yeah, it's really hard to. I think at this point we're all going to stand on very good and just have different opinions on why.
Right.
Maybe.
It was
I thought it was perfection. I thought it
And
was.
that's it, gang. That's the show. It was very good,
Yeah,
perfection.
the-
And
Good night.
Dynamite.
Except
Have
for-
a good night,
except for-
guys.
We appreciate all of y'all being here. We are leaving.
Oh shit!
I'm sorry, we're back to do the giveaway now.
I'd give it like 4 maple leaves out of 5. I think it's probably the second best super villain movie to be ever released. Like to me, it's
That's
not a
my
superhero movie at all. Yeah, if you guys want to start dissecting it, okay.
Well, real quick, DJ, how many handies do you give it?
I would give it. This is a special one, so I will give it 8 handies, but with T-Rex arms.
All right, perfect. So everyone here has their own grading system of how you grade movies. I definitely put this in green. Like this is on a 1 to 10. This is green. You know what I mean? Like this was definitely a green film for me.
Absolutely.
Nick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I give it 4.5 handies out of green.
Perfect. Bearded, what you got?
Well, the sprinkle of maple.
I mean, I was going to convert the Maple Leafs to the U.S. votes. That didn't work, so I'll just go with the bourbon, and I'll go. We got bottom shelf, mid grade, and top shelf. It was a top shelf bourbon movie.
Completely agree. So this was a 3-hour-long movie. Everyone says it's a 3-hour-long movie. Technically, it is not. It does not clock in over 3 hours. And then when you take out the credits, you're down to Spider-Man No Way Home. So all the complaints, you can just walk out the door with that. But to that point, though, there is a lot in this movie. There is a ton of content in this movie. The overall tone and feel of it, I've mentioned it. I've seen it mentioned all over the place. It's almost like watching David Fincher's Seven, that level of drama detective story with Batman working the case. And that level of detail being a part of this, I have a hard time really thinking about where to begin, other than literally the beginning when it opens up with Bruce Wayne narrating with the date and time and like where he is on his crusade. What did y'all think of that opening style with him already as Batman rolling out just on the job, kind of clocking in where he is?
Go ahead.
I thought the foreshadowing, the narration was a very good setup because most of the people who don't read comic books, people that just find out, oh, there's a new Batman movie coming out, let's go check it out. They kind of needed to know that this is not the Zack Snyder verse, this is not the Nolan verse, this is its own anchor point, and to find out that we're starting off year 2, like he's got a little bit of seasoning to him, but he's still rough around the edges, he's still calling himself Vengeance. I thought it was a very good way to get into it. You know, it's something that hasn't been done in a Batman film where you have Batman narrating, just kind of doing shots of London mimicking New York, mimicking Gotham City. So I thought it was well done that way.
Well, and I think it pans off of really well of tapping into the comic book element of, we're so used to reading a comic book of reading in the panels, right? The boxes and the narration there. And if you watch, and it was very much a film noir movie, if you think about it. And every film noir movie, it's the detective is narrating it. So I appreciated it from that point because it opened with it and it closed with that narration. I think if it did it really throughout the entire movie, it would have gotten a little bit too drawn out, but I think
too detective noir-ish.
Yeah, I think it set the stage of, hey, we're trying to pull from the comic book, we're trying to set it up in that vibe, like Chris was saying, of that film noir, that detective style movie, and I think it really worked well for what they wanted in that.
And I also think that just lends to how green he was. I don't see year 5 Batman having a journal. I think he was doing that in the beginning, maybe just to guide himself along the way, or see what he's learned along the way and that's helped him. I don't see that journal taking place after this or much longer. So
yeah, I agree. That opening narration out the gate, like when he did it, it reminded me of Rorschach's journal, blah blah. So I was all for it. I'm all for the narration. Mark, you mentioned 7 in the detective style story. I thought it was a masterpiece because my three of my top 10 movies are The Crow, 7, and Dark City, and this was an amalgamation of all those movies. So I loved it out the gate.
Your Dark City.
I thought was necessary, and the whole journal thing. I thought the journal thing. This is probably going to tie to a point that I was going to make later, but with his mother, with the mental issues and all that stuff, that probably ties to Bruce as well because that's in his family. That's why he's Batman. It's not because he's trying to save the city. He's a fucking little cuckoo too. So yeah, it was phenomenal. That's all I'm gonna say. Every time you unmute my mic, I'm gonna say it was phenomenal.
No, yeah, your mic should be fine. I was just going around testing it. I think it was yours.
Was it?
I wasn't hearing it on my end real bad till he said something, and I'm like, I was kind of noticing it.
All right,
but he said it's not bad now. I saw you turn it down a little bit when you saw his comment.
Yeah. Let me know if it's me.
I have the same issue with my mic from time to time that Rob loves to point out because I have what he calls an open air mic. Felt like Nolan's trilogy meets Dracula meets 7. Yeah. So just rolling right in, just going a little bit farther into the intro, like the way, like how Hefe said, like how Gotham was its own character and how he gave that dialogue that I sent you, Nick, that just had me, like where he's talking about when they put that signal up in the sky. It's not just this, that it's a warning and they're afraid of the shadows, but I own the shadows. And then we get those scenes when the people here and there start seeing the bat symbol. And we really get the true tone of Gotham. We're seeing the crime element. It's not going to give up. But the guy who just robbed a store was afraid to run his getaway route.
Yep. Because
it required the shadows ahead of him. The guy tagging the poles on the bank watched his can roll into the shadows. And like my wife said, shadows own that now. That's not your can anymore. And, it just created this such menacing, this legit fear. Like you could feel their fear. I wasn't scared, but I was scared for them. And then when we finally get that scene with the little face painted gang sitting there doing what they're doing in the subway, and we finally hear those first footsteps. that's when my mind just started racing. Like,
Those
oh my
boots.
God, they're doing something unique with this now. Here we go. They're defining their Batman in this exact moment right here, where he comes out slow, smooth, completely sure of himself, where every footstep felt like it had like the weight of the world behind it. You know,
Absolutely.
had that faint sound of spurs on even to it. It was
The leather was creaking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for me, it felt like I mentioned before, the Arkham Asylum games, where if you don't press L1, you're not running. Like Batman is just walking, and every movement, his physicality means something. And when he came out, when you heard the footsteps, first, the sound design of the movie was amazing. Everything was crazy. And when you heard those footsteps and he walked with a purpose, he didn't jump at people and just like to fight them really, really quickly. Like everything meant something. He wasn't going to throw a punch if it wasn't going to hurt you. Phenomenal.
And what I noticed too is like every little bit of shadow he stepped out of wasn't just shadow. It was very nebulous, and it felt almost alive, like he got birthed from it.
Oh shit! Yeah. What does nebulous mean? Oh shit!
Come on,
Nick, you're always talking shit to me about using big words.
Oh shit!
Listen, you can take it as disrespect if you want it.
Oh shit! Yo.
Greg, what did you think of that intro?
Hey, Siri, what does nebulous mean?
I thought it was a fantastic setup of it. Really set the stage for wanting to have where they were taking their Batman story of, you know, this idea of the spotlight, you know, the bat signal is not. It's not, you know, oh, I got to go see Commissioner Gordon all the time. It's to let the town go, hey, don't forget I'm here, and you don't know where I'm at all. And I think that was just, I thought it was a good take, and it was a good use of setting it up, because I kept waiting. I was I'm like, all right, is he popping out of the shadows right here? Is he coming out at the bank? Is he coming out at the, you know, with the drop head? Is he come? I'm like, where's he coming out? And then I started hearing the footsteps. I'm like, oh, don't tease me. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like, you better come out now. Like,
instant wood. Boom.
Now, in taking this point real quick, taking this scene to like a point of how well this movie was written, how we talked about the narration, intro and exit, the booking of the narration. Now, if we take the beginning and the end of the movie in a little bit farther, we saw this intro in the trailer, and that did not cheapen this scene where he beats the guy down and says, I am vengeance. Now, at the end of the movie, we see where that's no longer his thing. He saw the problems with that. We get the character growth we can see. So it's that scene is even bookended properly into the beginning and the end. Like I just noticed, just thought that balance in there.
The one thing I agree that way. I thought the entrance of Batman was a little too slow. I thought the walk was drawn out just a little too long. Because I'm sorry, but if I was a part of a gang and we were about to throw it down on some guy and I hear slow footsteps away, I'm still jumping in there and feeding it to the guy. And then knowing what this guy's cadence is, I'm going to feed it to him and I'm gone.
He's going to feed it to him.
Either way, the one thing DJ kind of mentioned that I wanted to expand on was the score for this film. The constant use of Ave Maria every time that the Riddler was somehow played into the film or into some sort of crime scene that happened afterwards, that they like the twisted Ave Maria notes that were in there. And then every time Batman was struggling with something, you heard Nirvana start to play in the background as well there. And then throughout different parts, you had the beautiful, orchestra sounds that came filling in beautifully. But it was just those three constants through this film. It wasn't just like, okay, now we're going to pluck out a top 40 song here. We're going to pluck out something else here. Or it's just going to strictly be orchestra and menacing, hard notes. It was Ave Maria, Nirvana, and then the original score for the orchestra. And I thought that was something I can't say anything negative about. It was well done.
Now, can I ask, was this score cut from like Nolan's trilogy? Because it sounded very familiar. No,
not at all. That was Hans Zimmer in Nolan's trilogy.
Right.
Yeah, I think when it as soon as it said the DC Warner Brothers The Batman, and then once I heard the Ave Maria, I was giddy. Like I'm in my seat, because I know as a movie fan, whenever you hear like opera or like some smooth music, violence comes right after that. Mm-hmm. So it reminded me of Hannibal Lecter when he was listening to the classical music when he was caged up, And I was just like, I know the opening of this is gonna be crazy if it's gonna start with that. Like it started with a bang.
To even go on to that point, DJ, what I thought, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, I looked at it as a sweet Easter egg because of the idea of you're talking about when the bad things happen in the opera. Freaking, that's what Bruce Wayne's family, they left the opera. You know, it depends on which storyline. There's the Mask of the Zorro movie, or but they're in the opera, and it's the bad stuff that happens which makes them go out. And I'm like, and so every time that popped up, it's almost like retelling Bruce Wayne's tragedy without having to do that for us, because good golly, if we saw pearls dropping in the street, people would have been upset again, right? Because we know that.
Yeah, I mean, like pearls on the neck.
Yeah, we didn't sign up for that movie. So right after that scene, we kind of get introduced to what, like, I hate to even call it Bruce Wayne. He's obviously Bruce Wayne, but he is not Bruce Wayne as you would see him. It's kind of like that neglect, like in this movie, he has not found his balance between who he is in his personal life versus his Batman life, and he completely neglects the Bruce Wayne aspect of it. He talked about it in that opening monologue where his schedule now is adapted to nocturnal habits.
Yes.
Where he doesn't participate in daytime, hence why the movie's all at night. And we talked about this already, Nick. The movie takes place in like a week span. It's all back to back.
6 days,
but
I believe.
That being the case, it actually plays into the aesthetics of Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, with him being paler, not ever going out in the daytime, with his hair being long, because a man who's neglecting his personal or social life is not hitting his barber regularly.
Yeah.
That wasn't a style choice of his hair. That was just dude ain't keeping himself up on that front. And I thought that was pretty interesting. But seeing him walking around, when we see him as Bruce Wayne, normally he's hoodied up. He has the black smoky mascara on his face. He's got his book bag, and now we know what was in it. He's looking bulky because his suit's under what he's wearing, and his cowl's in the book bag. He's always ready just to pull the phone booth maneuver when he needs to. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. To your point, like it foreshadowed that the movie was going to be dark and gritty. Once it said, I am whatever, a nocturnal creature, my schedule is nocturnal. So even from saying that, I was just like, we're not going to get a lot of Bruce Wayne. And then the fact of the matter is, if you're Batman, obviously the comic does a lot of balancing and other movies did a lot of balancing. For me, I love the realism of this, where if he was really a billionaire, he's Batman, he's not going to be out and about buying restaurants and having chicks dive in the pool. Like this is just not realistic. And I don't know. I love that this was a Batman movie with little focus on Bruce Wayne. I think trying to do the balance sometimes might slip away and the movie might careen in a different direction, but I was happy with just Batman all day. And then Bruce Wayne still being Batman without being Batman.
Yeah.
But too, I mean, Batman would be stuck in this movie if it wasn't for the Bruce Wayne aspect, because he got a lot of inroads as Bruce Wayne. So,
right.
The one thing I can draw from it is when the cowl was off. I'm kind of figuring Bruce at this point in this film is probably 23 to 25, and I knew when I was 23 to 25, I knew everything about everything, and no one could tell me anything, especially when my old man would try to give me a little bit of advice. I'd listen, but I'm not hearing. And the same thing with anyone else in my life. At that point, no one was going to tell me anything. I was going to walk my own walk. And that's the one thing I found about Bruce in this particular film was his dad, that's not a dad, Alfred, was speaking to him. He wasn't hearing him. He was listening to him, but he didn't give a rat's ass what he was saying. And same with everyone else in this. He was just going to walk his own. He was just going to walk his own walk.
That was a Batman pun.
Boom. So it was, I thought that point was okay. But the flip side of that was I've seen an emo type of hero before, and it was done and not well received when Anakin Skywalker rolled out in the second of the new trilogy, and I drew a lot of comparisons between the two. It's just okay, so he's emo, and yeah, you spoke about character growth. I thought the character growth was minimal at the last moment of the last scenes in the film. Okay, there's a change there, but even when he's sitting at Alfred's side in the hospital, he's still acting emo. And it was just a little too much of it. So much to the point where I was thinking, my God, we're mimicking Anakin Skywalker.
To that point though, what I would say is I would keep in mind though, this movie also, like that we've said, is it's taking place in the span of a week.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if it goes from that transition to completely not emo just because of a couple things happen, I think it would have felt forced. I mean, I've even heard people say like what you were talking about at the very end for them felt forced, of where he's like he has to change away from his idea of vengeance, you know, what that is. And I think what this is going to do, I'll be very shocked if in the second movie we don't see the billionaire playboy aspect of Bruce Wayne, where he's shifting into that character of going, because he's ignoring the mayor's phone calls in this, he's doing this. And I think it's when he's coming to this realization in this movie of, I have to be more than vengeance. I have to be hope. I have to be this, this symbol for people. I think he's going to realize it as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. I think he's going to step into that role of his family's role, that they had. So I'm okay with where they had Bruce Wayne in this movie. I feel like they have to have him grow as a Bruce Wayne as a character in the next movie, or I will be like, "Yup, I'm okay with the emo." Comment.
To Chris's point about at that age, everything. He thought he was the greatest detective. He thought he mastered his fears. He thought he was vengeance. 3 realizations, not necessarily character shifts of growth, but he realized those 3 things that he thought he knew so well. He got a lot of things wrong on the case. A lot of people died. He really lost this movie. He survived.
This is not a superhero movie. It's a super villain movie.
To the fear factors, like he told Alfred, I thought I mastered my fears. He hasn't. And the whole vengeance thing, you didn't see him move away from that. You just saw the moment he realized that can't be what it's about.
Yeah. Now, there was an Easter egg, guys, and I've been reading it to a lot of people. Like, there was no Playboy. There was no Playboy. If some people realize what he rolled up in a split rear window year 1 Corvette to the funeral. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is a 6-figure car on a bad day. He rolled up in something that was a smoke show and no one noticed because a hot set of legs hopped out from right behind him when the camera panned away from the vehicle that Bruce was in. There was that little bit of Playboy there. It just it hadn't taken over his life the way that we saw Bale and Affleck portray it very, very well.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with Greg about the growth in the second movie. I think when he realized that it's not just vengeance all day, he has to be hope. So he has to do that from both sides of the coin as Batman and as Bruce Wayne, getting back into his parents' philanthropic ventures and stuff like that. That's how you save the city with money. So I agree with you, Greg. Hugs from afar, sir.
And DJ knows a thing or two about saving the city with money. So there you go.
So that covers our first take on Batman, on Bruce Wayne. But this movie was riddled with characters, and that works in a place like Gotham because you don't have to necessarily spread out a bunch of characters over the course of films for them to have a proper place in the movie to work. Because you have crime families, crime bosses, just standard elements, standard human people. But the first person that we're introduced to was the Riddler in the most wicked, creepy way. What did y'all think of that first just psycho Zodiac killer moment when he rolls out?
I loved it because it set the tone. It's like, this is not going to be your regular Batman fare, your regular comic book movie stuff. If you know what I mean, if you brought your kids that are under 10, walk out now. Like I loved it. Like I loved it the way the Riddler was introduced.
Again, there was also a bookend moment in that. The way that he went after wasn't it the current mayor? That's who it was.
Up for re-election, yeah.
Yep. So who was up for re-election? It was kind of given, and that scene was used to not just give us the first kill, but to also set the stage of the current political atmosphere of Gotham, which would be heavily played into the plot. But you see him take that object, and when he hits him, and he kind of lets it go, he releases it, and it slides. And that camera angle that they gave us, sitting there with it right in front of us, looking up, is the exact same camera angle that we had when we were finally in his hideout when Batman comes to go peel the carpet. Again, the symmetry of this film, the actual filmmaking details that Matt Reeves put into this are blowing my mind the more that I get into it and look at it.
Well, if you think about it, they both had the same view as Riddler did in the beginning through his goggles, breathing. Later on in the movie, the Batman had the same point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So
you know what was a cool little detail? I don't know if this was done purposefully, but how the movie opens and it was October 31st, and then you have the Riddler looking through the window, his POV. So in the first Halloween movie that happens on October 31st, the whole intro is done through Michael Myers' POV with the mask on his on his eyes.
Yeah. To me, there was many quiet homages throughout this film. Obviously, the blatant one depends on which side of the aisle you feel this film is. Is it good or bad? You're going to say it's a blatant ripoff of Finch's masterpiece 7, or you can say it's a very nice homage to it. But there was other things like that as well. The whole Riddler, to me, when I saw it, I thought right away of Pulp Fiction. The final sings of Pulp Fiction when Ving Rhames is
the Gimp.
They even brought the word up. Yep.
And there's a lot of these quiet nods to different films, like masterpiece films. I thought there can't be anything campy about this film whatsoever in any point anywhere, or it's just not going to work. And the way that they brought in the Riddler and had him just be homicidal on top of trying to be, his normal genius self, I thought was very, very well crafted.
Yeah, I love the fact that there were 3 or 4 jokes maximum in this entire movie. I love
it.
It
weren't even like they were jokes. It was just like moments of levity as a viewer. Like,
try this.
Yeah, you had the thumb drive was one, and there was like
he's
2
wearing
other
gloves
moments.
was the other one.
Which one?
He's wearing gloves.
Oh yeah,
and Penguin had said one as well, but I love that aspect as well.
Yeah.
Well, you brought him up, so let's talk about him. That's kind of where it leads next. After we get the initial look at the Riddler, we were then introduced to Oz or Oswald, who is working as the right-hand man for Falcone, not Falcone in this movie. They pronounce it Falcone, and at the Iceberg Lounge of all places. So we actually get the Iceberg Lounge, the villain hangout that turns into the Penguin's lair, more or less. And Oz is running that, and Batman goes there uninvited to go have a word with him. What did y'all think of that intro into the Iceberg Lounge? Just
again, it goes back to what Chris said. This movie couldn't be campy, so it wasn't going to be ice sculptures, and it was the Iceberg Lounge because of where it was in that, like, the fish market slums of Gotham, and it worked. I will say Matt Reeves did do a little camp and it was perfect because it was missed by a lot when he did the William Shakespeare statue in the office as throwback to 66. So you got your camp without it being camp, which was fantastic. But that set the stage for, you had the Riddler, you set the stage for Oswald of, we're taking these characters that are over the top characters in the Batman universe that we're familiar with, and we're making it something that is, I'd say grounded, whatever, but like it's a realistic, like you can picture these characters happening in New York City. Like Christopher Nolan's Batman, was Chicago. This was New York City through and through, with Gotham Square Garden and Times Square. It was its own version of New York City, but that's a whole nother thing. It was a character in itself, the city, but having Penguin, be that kind of grounded, even it was an over the top character of, who he is, but it wasn't, they're not making, fish jokes and penguin jokes. The tie is literally the Iceberg Lounge. And it's everything you needed it to be, of a seedy lounge with then the private, bougie club that's inside the seedy lounge, it set the time, it set the framework very well for what this movie wanted, going from seeing the Riddler set up at the very beginning of the movie to Batman to then the Iceberg Lounge. And it was.
Yeah, I loved it. It reminded me a lot of the intro to Blade. So when Blade showed
Oh,
up,
yeah. Everyone goes to the club.
Yeah, I loved it. One thing too that I noticed when at the Iceberg Lounge, when Selena Kyle left for the first time, and there's like a wide shot, and you see the buildings, you see a silhouette of a figure taking Polaroids of the Iceberg Lounge, which turns out that's the Riddler's apartment. But you see that way early on.
And to your point, if they just realized where the pictures came from, they could have had the movie done in 10 minutes.
Yeah, the pictures of the mayor with Russian girl that he was macking
But
on.
I think the other additional
Yes.
little piece of camp also in regards to the Penguin was his waddle.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
When
that
he
was,
got
that
tied
was
up.
like an Easter egg. You'd have to really. I think like so if this is your introduction into Batman, you wouldn't have like really thought nothing of that. Just a guy tied up walking away. But to the point of people like that were saying the movie was slow and stuff, like by the time we get to the second half of the movie, the story should have you hooked. That should be the draw, and it was for me. So for the first half of the movie, you have to get me there. You have to get me engaged. And within 30 minutes of the movie, we had that introduction in the subway. Then we have him go to the Iceberg Lounge where he was told not to go there. You're not welcome. And he walks up to the front door and knocks on it in costume and simply says, I am, right? And that's like that. And he let himself in. And that fight scene was it was so raw. It was so dynamic. This dude takes hits left and right. Yeah. It got to the point where he was about to tear the place down. So the Penguin came to him. He's like, hey, what? I thought that was again, it speaks a lot to the character of this Batman that we're about to watch for the rest of this movie. Like it's a no nonsense Batman.
Yeah, and Colin Farrell's makeup job, phenomenal.
Colin Farrell's New York accent was incredible for a guy that struggles with trying to drop the Irish.
He didn't have a New York accent. He talked,
"You sons of bitches!
Come on,
I got you!
Yeah,
he sounded just like DJ. Like they were like it was. Colin Farrell was impersonating Penguin and DJ in the same moment. It was a thing of beauty.
That's why he's branding DJ Penguin.
They should have saved the one F-bomb for that car chase, though.
Yeah. And I think comparing the fight style to what you see in a John Wick movie is very accurate.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, my God. The fight in John Wick. Yeah.
John Wick 2 when he's in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much only Totoro did phenomenal as Falcone. He did really good, like for the comic relief guy for the past decade and all. He was totally believable. And Catwoman, like there really no words really need to be said. And Zoe Kravitz crushed it. She really
like
just
her waist is like this.
I noticed that
her waist is like this, and I'm not pointing that out as like I'm trying to sexualize her or whatever. But I'm just saying, like that lady, she like it's like she has her hips and then her waist goes in like 4 or 5 inches. Like
so she looks like Catwoman from the
like,
animated
my God,
series.
like someone get that poor girl a cheeseburger.
That's
like, come on. But if we're gonna talk about performances, I thought Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon carried every scene that he was in. My God, what a great casting with Jeffrey Wright. Not that I would expect anything less from him, but wow, just I saw as soon as he started speaking to me, he was Gordon.
And that was my big thing too, is that there was not one character in this whole movie that I did not want to know more about after.
Yeah. I think every character was solid, and that speaks to the runtime of the movie. When you have more time to develop these characters, you get more invested in them. And I don't think it could have been shorter. Like I was happy with it, but you're talking to a guy that watched Zack Snyder's The 4-Hour Justice League twice in a day. So
yeah, me too.
I binged Tarantino stuff.
I think it allows.
Oh,
I think those slower moments that people were like, this took too long or this took too long. It allowed the bigger moments to breathe. And I know it might sound weird, but if it's all boom, 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 I think it lessens some of those moments and that impact. So to allow it to step away and breathe and to just kind of say, okay, where are we at? I've watched it twice in the theater, and first off, it didn't feel like 3 hours for me because of that aspect of I watched the second time. I'm like, what would I try and cut out? And I would love to hear what people want to cut out because I don't know. I was like, I don't know what I would cut out. And also, if I'm paying $15-$20 to go see a freaking movie, why are we complaining that we're getting more of a movie?
That's the same thing I say. Why would you be excited to see a movie than be mad when you get to see as much as you possibly can?
After what would happen with the original Justice League, my opinion is, yeah, I said something about Batman coming up the stairs. I would have had him walking faster. However, the director is the storyteller, and this is the story he wants to tell. Well, then this is the story that we're going to get. For me, I don't believe in director's cuts. What I see on the big screen should be the final cut. I don't want to hear anything about a director's cut.
Yeah,
if that's the case, then I know the studio interfered way too much.
Yeah, I think with the walking, it like again, it set the tone for fear. He did everything to instill fear in the heart of these goons or whatever. So if he just rolled up and ran in, it's more shock than fear.
Yeah, but that's what the signal was there for.
And two, I think the people who complain that it's long are so used to the Marvel formula that it's just, action, 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 really no story.
The fast food cinema camp fest. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. It's enjoyable. It is
No
fun,
Way Home
but
was
it's
not fast food.
Terrible. Don't go into a movie that's meant to be a film thinking it's just a popcorn flick. It's
It's totally different. Like with this is you could pluck out the superhero characters and just add in like a regular detective, and it's still a phenomenal movie.
Right.
And that's what I enjoy about it. I was fine with the pacing. I enjoy story. I enjoy exposition. Like some of my favorite movies, there's no action. 8mm, 7, Dark City, like all the shit that we talked about before. I had no problem with the runtime. I had no problem with the pacing. I thought it was paced really, really well. But that's just me. I'm just a guy.
Siri, what does exposition mean?
All right, real quick. All right, we touched on the characters real quick. I want to get to something that I know Nick has been dying to get to say since Thursday. Like there's for a lot of us, and like Nick brought this up to me. He said, when you watch it, there's one moment that really is going to stand out and just kind of give you that hell yeah on the inside, And he said, watch for it. And when the wife, myself, and Pops were watching it, a certain moment happened, and I smacked my dad, and he looked at me and said, "This is the moment Nick was talking about." And like I was telling them, I called Nick like before we even walked out of the theater. I called him. I was like, "Dude, it was this moment, wasn't it?" He's like, "Yes." So I know my boy Nick wants to talk about that moment. Let's get to it.
And it's the funny thing because up until tonight, everybody who I've asked that same question had the same exact answer until the true fans, the film guys here. But for me, this one moment hit me as a little kid who loves fantasy stories. It hits me as a movie lover. It hit me as a superhero guy. It hit me as an action movie guy. It hit me as a man who loves cars. All in the same moment. I've never had that done before in any movie. I've had it done here and there separately. But when that Batmobile kicked on for the first time, you heard the whine of the engines. Literally, my hands got sweatier. There was something in my stomach that felt the goosebumps on my hands, my legs, everything. And I saw it again today, and I felt the same exact way. And from that point on, it was just like, holy F. I can't believe what I just felt in this one movie. So,
yeah, the chat was calling it too.
Yeah,
vroom, vroom, the Penguin Batman chase. What got me when he fired that up, I was like, and I've seen the Batmobile in the pictures, we saw it, but when he fired it up, it was like something just came over me, like, oh my God, this just got real. And the way that what he did
again,
like when he revved it up and watching some people run, but not everybody did. So he jumped the car. He hopped at one time, like, you don't get to surrender now, like, go.
Bro, like, when he burst through that concrete cylinder,
oh yeah,
without stopping, and then again to see the truck, the semi truck, fold into a ramp in front of him, and him just hit it, and then Penguin thought he was triumphant, and to see just
do it, DJ. What did Penguin say?
I got you! I got you! I got you!
Boom. Dude, when he slammed the hammer down, you see the actual fire exhaust just go down to a fine point. You're just like, go. It's like when Nick Cage hit the go baby go button and Gone in 60 Seconds. It's like, we're getting it now.
For me, I just thought of Adam West. I'm like, it's about time that we get to see some American muscle back on the streets with Batman behind the helm, because we had the old caddy, and then it's just been different tanks ever since as the Batmobile. It's been weird throwbacks with the Tim Burton stuff, and then the Tumbler and all that, and now we get now we get a 60s and 70s American hot rod as the Batmobile, and that was a hell of a lot of American horses coming after the Penguin.
I'll let that heresy slip out of your mouth there, Chris,
on.
because we're talking about
If you rode a bike, it doesn't matter.
we're talking about this, in the context of this movie. I mean, so it fit the context of this movie, this Batmobile. But I mean, when you start bashing the '89 Batmobile,
Come on.
I'm just saying we gotta pump the brakes a little bit.
Come on.
Mark just saw me like going, "Oh,
Come on.
I did the same thing. I'm like, whoa, wait.
Come on.
Did you say Tim Burton?
Tanks. Like, come on.
The Tumbler is the only Batmobile that I have no favor for whatsoever. I mean, it was practical. It
Come
made
on.
sense.
Affleck was rolling around in a
Oh, I
tank.
love Affleck's Batmobile.
Affleck.
I even
on,
love the
let's-
Joel Schumacher ones, for what they were like. That was like, again, all right, I'll go and put this out there. What I liked about this Batman was it did not lend itself from anything that came before. It is completely unique to itself, as all the interpretations of Batman have been. This is not imitating Nolan's Batman. This is not imitating Burton's Batman. This is Reeves' Batman. And all of the Batmans, including the Joel Schumacher ones, you can find eras in Batman's history. Joel Schumacher specifically taking the toys out of the formula, which were a heavy role in it. His exposure was the Batman 66 show. He was making a modern day Batman 66. That was his goal. That's what he's doing. All of these movies have their proper place where they're accurate to what the vision of the director was doing from his perspective of Batman. With an 8-decade plus history, people are going to find different eras, different exposure that they enjoy Batman. So none of them have been poor interpretations or bad. They might just not be my preference. They have been what they have been. They're what they intended to be.
Yeah, I love too that it was like Chris said, an American muscle car, the quite opposite of what he rolled up to the funeral with as Bruce Wayne.
It's funny that I
Right?
thought when he popped
The
that
vet.
car,
It wasn't a foreign car that he rolled up to in Bruce, like a fancy ass.
It was
That
a
was a
year one split rear Corvette.
I don't
Listen,
drive.
when I first saw that car, I was like, oh my God. And I completely forgot about it after seeing
The,
that.
the sound though, like I keep going back to the sound design, and then just the sound, just the roar, like everything was like shaking in the theater, and
The music, the camera angles, having those low
Everything.
camera angles that was like almost fixed to the bumper and stuff, like
So
it put you in the action.
And
Let me ask you a
when Penguin flipped over, like when he hit the Penguin, how it immediately went to
That was
Penguin in the car. Like
great
you didn't
filming.
need to see the car flipping over from A to Z. Like he was just flipping in the car, and then it showed the tail end of that.
I also love how the one Canadian on the panel is the one that cares about it being American muscle more than no one else.
He's a big America fan.
Nobody gives a shit.
Let
That's
me-
natural
let me
liberty.
ask- why do you think that last shot when Penguin's done rolling, why did they keep him at 50 in the Super Bowl inverted while Batman was walking this way?
Oh, doing his Clint Eastwood walkout?
Yeah,
No,
but
because he
why
wants to know
was-
why,
he was
why
stuck
Penguin
anyway.
was impersonating 50 Cent.
Oh,
Just hanging there.
So with Batman upside down.
Right,
Dude, I
I
thought
was-
that was cool. Again, that was another scene that we saw in the trailer with Batman walking up with the camera upside down, giving you Penguin's vantage point. But dude, again, having seen it, it did not take away when we saw that little extra we haven't seen when he stepped up to the car and he stops.
Yeah.
He was
Again,
slowly
that-
moving his head and like
I was
The-
actually
the
nervous for
slow,
that scene.
drawn out walk. That's for the fear, to instill fear in the Penguin, which was the driving force for everything Batman did up until that point.
My fear was actually, okay, if he puts his head down, he's kind of going to expose himself because he already open fired on him, with a fully auto. And I thought that when he bent over, that the Penguin was going to open fire again, and then we were just going to see him pop back up, and the hands come in and pull him out. But that was, end scene.
yeah, I don't think that Penguin had his hands on that firearm after that wreck. He
Rest in
didn't
peace,
go down
Maserati.
small. Yeah.
1,000 American horses just showed you who's boss.
Wow,
So,
big shout out to
what
Penguin.
did y'all think of in this one? The level of interaction that he had with the actual Gotham City Police Department, like his involvement on the case with their reluctance, but still allowance of him on crime scenes, and how Gordon was like really just going up to bat for him. Like this is the first time in the films that we saw him with this level of participation with the GCPD.
I thought how they portrayed it was great, and it worked because of his relationship with Jim Gordon. because I think again what you're doing with Matt Reeves is saying if you have a vigilante in the real world, like coming in and doing crime scene, police are going to be like, what are you doing? This is our job. Stop trying to do our job. This like, get out of here. And that you saw that in everybody except for Jim Gordon, because, as Jim Gordon says early in the movie, he goes, you're the only person I trust. Like, and so that relationship works because if he doesn't have Jim Gordon, he doesn't have that relationship with the GCPD at all. And you see that throughout the whole movie that he's ostracized until I feel like it might shift a little bit in the next movie because they maybe have understood he's earned his place a little bit more because we're still getting year 2 of Batman. This is his second year on the job and the second year of a vigilante, especially in the real world. That first year, everyone's gonna be like, you're a Looney Tune.
They were probably out for him the first year.
Right. They're probably the first half, they're probably like, this guy's a Looney Tune. Like, and then like you said, now they're like, oh, he's actually like beating up people. We need to stop him. And now they're like, okay, let's. So I thought the relationship with the police was as realistic as you could get in a vigilante cop relationship.
Yeah, and I also think it speaks to the amount of violence and mayhem and stuff that's happening in Gotham for them to even align with Batman. So that's stuff that they didn't show. So then it also kind of maybe speaks to that cameo at the end.
Now, Matt Reeves has gone on record about that cameo. We can get into that a little bit later if you want to save that. Because he has like given a very pointed article about a deleted scene as well.
Yep.
It gives you insight on the direction that he's going with that and a little bit of kind of where it came from as well.
Okay. Yeah, which was really cool insight.
If you want to get into it now, we can get into it now.
Hey, but before we do that, I got a split. But I just want to say this before I go: is like this movie,
banana split.
That too. I had no expectations in this movie. And I go through my checklist. If it's a superhero movie, I need that superhero moment. If it's not that, I need my action moment that I've never seen before. If not, I need a story. And this, for me, hit every single checkpoint.
Absolutely.
Acting was fantastic. Sound was fantastic. There were point of views in this movie I've never seen before that I think I need from now on. And it made me feel what people felt in the movie. Like in the beginning, I felt what the fear that the villains felt. I felt the sadness of a son that Bruce felt. I also felt the anger towards, some of the certain situations that the people of Gotham felt. And it was just so odd to have this done in a movie. So it was, for me, while it isn't my favorite superhero movie of all time, like for me, that will always be Endgame and Infinity War. I count them as one movie. But this is the follow-up to that. So this was fantastic. So
it's funny because I would say calling it a superhero movie is actually a disservice to the film. But that's not to shit on you or anything like that. I agree with you. It's still a superhero movie because it's Batman. I'm just saying in general, like calling it a superhero movie, it's kind of like a disservice to it. In my opinion, But I agree with you 100% with everything that you said.
Hey, I appreciate you guys letting me hang out. You guys enjoy.
All right, Nick. Have a good night, bro. Appreciate you coming on. So getting into the thing at the end, the cameo at the end.
Hold on. I got to talk about the cops for 1 sec. Now,
go for it.
The one thing. So when Batman first walks into the death of
the mayor,
of the mayor, obviously everyone, as he's doing his walk, everyone is like kind of looking at him like, what the hell? Again, you got to remember, vigilantes are wanted men, or women, pardon me. And so for him to walk through there, it's incredibly brazen, if you want to look at it that way. And then finally he gets stopped, about to walk into the mouth of the room where the body is. And I kind of thought, watching this whole thing go down, come on, someone's got to reach out to him. Someone's got to try and tug on the cowl. Someone's got to tug on the cape a little bit. It's only an hour and a half later where he's in lockup, where a cop finally tries to give it a go, and that's when you see the true vigilante stand up and like, I'll take 3. If you're going to get me on that, you're going to get me on taking on 3 cops. So that's the point where I was just kind of like, like we gotta make this a little bit more believable, because I know every cop would be irritated by the fact that some guy is masked walking in here that doesn't wear a badge, has no right to be in here because it's still a CSI, to be honest with you. And then finally, when he's in the station, someone finally does what I thought would have happened at some point eventually,
right.
And that is grab the cowl, and then he loses his bad shit and then goes after the cop, and then it's 25 on 1, and he's holding his own for those 4 or 5 seconds, right? So yeah, that's the one point that, because we spoke about the police force just for a second, I was like, that's what I was waiting for. When that happened, I was like, all right, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, there wasn't any kind of like unrealistic resolution that they were going to come to. Like it was a powder keg waiting to go off with him in the room with cops, and that's exactly what happened. Like Gordon, being his one ally, had to take one on the chin and tell him to run. There was no like, oh, we'll work it out. I'm a vigilante that y'all all hate, but it'll be fine. No, they, as soon as they had an excuse, it was over. This is it for him. We're going to look under the cowl. He's done. And that exit,
which ended to that point too. This is the first time, and maybe I'm misinterpreting. This is one of the first times I feel like we've seen the bat signal not on top of the police station.
Yeah,
it was somewhere else it's really separated, because in this real world, like Chris is saying, cops aren't going to put a vigilante signal on top of their building and then be upset that he's around. Like,
it was like Gordon did it himself. It was so makeshift, like they just wedged metal into the metal framing on it. It's to make the symbol.
And I thought that was a nice touch to go to Chris's point of how the police force felt about having a vigilante, and it literally was, this is Gordon wanting that. So
yeah. So what did y'all think of that exit? So he did have to punch Gordon in the face per Gordon's request, so Gordon doesn't get implemented in participating with his escape and flee the police station. And he went straight up because he couldn't get out any other way. He had to use his gadgets, which were awesome. There were very, very few that we saw, but like his grappling gun, it was part of those large gauntlets that he has. That's why he had large gauntlets. They were on the inside of his arm. He was able to extend them out, and he did the Batman Begins moment where he goes up the stairs pretty much. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And that was a good POV as well.
How's it?
Yeah. It was raw, like right there on his face, just straining.
That was the one part I kind of thought, I don't know about this, because they were open firing inside of his station, going up while there's people in the stairwell, and police officers were firing. Like, my goodness, they're actually shooting inside of a police station. Like, anyways, but it was quite a moment where I was kind of waiting for some of the gadgets to show up, but we like Mark mentioned, we only had a few that actually show up in this movie, and the flare at the end was another one as well.
Now this was like to make the final getaway. He did use the classic, he takes his cape and he extends it out and he just glides around. But Matt Reeves took it to a realistic level. That's probably not really a thing. Even the Christopher Nolan version, where they have the smart tech Teflon stuff, with that you send the electrical charge through it and you can shape it however you want and make an actual glider out of it. That was as realistic as we saw it. And this, it was literally a squirrel suit that people use for parachuting. He pulled a ripcord and was able to put on the suit really quick and just leap off a building with an actual glider suit.
Yeah, and even before that, even right before he did that suit, you get that moment where you see the human side of Batman still too, which I think you're seeing the development. He ran up to the top of that building, and he hadn't been to the top of the police station before because he was like, oh, crap.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, you saw the fear in his face of like, oh, shoot. Yeah. And then, but the quick reaction of going, okay, I know what I need to do.
And he was actually sucking wind too.
He didn't jump until he had to.
Yeah.
Yep. Man,
he was sucking wind when he got up there, and it was cool that he was actually on a gargoyle.
And you all, Nick,
that was cool.
Yeah, Nick, you guys asked Nick, what was that moment, and that was the car for Nick. And I saw someone say like, I could do without the suit, but man, when he jumped off and just, I was just like, yes. As a Batman kid, I'm like, that looks so sweet. That was so awesome to see that glide. But son of a gun,
that landing
when he hit that, bro.
It was his rookie flight, man. It was his rookie flight.
like, ooh, that was brutal.
But you know that they're setting this up. The second scene, a scene in the second film will be this, but this time he'll stick the bloody landing.
Well, it's we haven't even talked about this too much, and I don't want to jump into it too much if we aren't.
Yeah.
But it's very reminiscent of Batman Earth 1, which that first issue is where you're getting into. There's like that comic book. There's 3 times Batman uses his, grappling gun, his batter, and the first time he completely misses. The second time he almost gets it and he doesn't, and then the third time, it's this kind of progression throughout the book of him getting better. And I think you might see that again, the progression of him, because it's been mentioned on the show. We've seen it multiple times where he still is human. He's still learning. He's still vulnerable, and there are moments where he has to tap into something else and learn and grow from that, and I mean, if he does that again, it's going to shut every Batman fan's arguments of, well, Batman, you can't beat him. You can beat him once, but you won't beat him twice,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and to your point about learning, like he constantly learned on every single scene. He wasn't the greatest detective. Like he was learning from every cop that was there, the information that they was giving him. But then his acting, like he didn't even say anything. It was just the looks, like, and that said a million words by just looking at the looks. Like, I understand you. And when the cop told him something, Martinez, and he gave him the look like, leave me the fuck alone. And then when he was just like, oh yeah, that's the tool. Like I don't know, like he did such a good job, and that's just speaking to the point about learning. Like he did such a fantastic job of learning and soaking up a lot of information. Greatest
so to
detective.
Craig's point, he did it. He messed up. He mentioned did you say year 1 or Earth 1?
Earth 1 was, I said Earth 1 because also someone also in the chat asked about the Martha Arkham. That's also the comic.
So, I was saying from the trailers of this looks like they're pulling heavily from Jeff John and Gary Frank's Earth 1 hardback series, which they did. This was awesome to kind of see where their inspirations, like obviously the Long Halloween with the detective stuff, Catwoman scratching Falcone's face. There were some direct influences there, but a lot of the meat and potatoes of this came from Jeff John's Earth 1, like clear as day. So with Martha, her maiden name being an Arkham, with her being Psycho, like I legitimately thought that they were going to hit us with the curveball that the Riddler was actually going to be Bruce's bastard brother that was tucked away in Arkham that Bruce did not even know about. Like there's so many little Wayne family Arkham stuff that they could have gone with, and they did a good job not going overboard with it, but actually setting up some major stuff. Because when they were giving us the information dump of that, this is the first time we're diving into the parents not being the white knights of Gotham. They're human too. And like they said in this year, Alfred told him your father was a good man. He made a mistake and it backfired on him even more. It didn't make him a bad person, but he obviously paid Falcone to put some pressure on a reporter to back off, to not reveal Martha's tainted past with going in and out of Arkham Asylum, the asylum that her family namesake set up back in the day as one of the founding families of Gotham City. And it looks like that actual reporter is going to end up being this universe's Thomas Elliot's father, is what I'm assuming, because the reporter's name was whatever Elliot. What was it?
Edward Elliot.
Edward Elliot. And we get during this Riddler clip, he even throws up on there, Hush. Like legit. Like Hush is about to be the second villain in these Batman movies, because real quick, if you stay after the credits, you're given the El Rato whatever URL. If you go to that, there's some ciphers and stuff for you to play with and have fun, just getting excited. One of them is Hush is Coming. So I definitely think that we're about to be unpacking that, and potentially Court of Owls as well. I got major vibes. Like everyone was afraid to talk. Everyone was afraid of the bigger danger, like not Batman. There was something out there, and I definitely am not convinced it was simply Falcone. Like no matter what his influence was, there's clearly bigger things at play in Gotham.
Well, they even the policeman that was caught dirty that Catwoman decided to, introduce her 6-inch heels to was, like Falcone's been the mayor for 20 years. Okay, but who's been running the show beyond that? Like, let's talk. Who set Falcone up that way? Okay, so he punked out Maroni. Okay, we get that, but who's fueling him? Because we never got into
For
the
the
money
entire
aspect of
city
it.
to be dirty, for every aspect,
Yeah.
every top level official. Like, what were some of the other Easter eggs or vibes you got? You mentioned the Shakespeare statue, which was famously Adam West's entrance to the Batcave in Batman 66 series, where he would just lean Shakespeare's head back and flip the switch, and it would reveal the bat poles that they would slide down with their boy Wonder Thighs.
And another Easter egg when they're walking out Carmine Falcone, and he goes, "What are you, Zorro?" Or
Yes,
Zorro yeah. Again, paying homage to, hey, they acknowledge Bruce Wayne's parents' death, from the comic books, just in different ways. I thought in this, which was good, which was another just like, again, if you're not reading Batman comics, you don't know that, and that's fine, and it doesn't take anything away from it. And you don't go, why did he say that? Because you're like, Zorro was a masked man, so like it fit really well.
I hope they don't go the Riddler is Hush route. That would be a bummer. Court of Owls looks like it's coming to the Penguin series. I had heard that would be a good one for it to really unpack that dynamic of what was going on in the criminal element. But yeah, there was some cool stuff in there, like that was like meant for like hard lore fans. And they really didn't harp on them or drag them out. The story did not suffer for the fan service, which was really nice because don't take this the wrong way, Chris. I'm not talking about you. Spider-Man No Way Home was a phenomenal good time of a movie. As a piece of film, it was trash. It was plot hole ridden. There was nothing really to it, but it wasn't meant to be any of that. It was meant to be a fan service phenomenon like has never been seen before, and it was. I cried numerous times in the movie. I cheered, I screamed, but they did that without making a good piece of film. And so
it's a gateway film.
Yeah, and this is the complete opposite. This was like literally not meant to be that.
It's almost fair. It's almost fair not to compare the two. But let's be honest. The one thing that I enjoyed was the rise of the three main characters. We got to see the rise of the Bat, obviously, at the forefront, and then we quietly got to see the rise of Gordon as quickly becoming respected, and then we quietly got to see the rise of the Penguin as well, because in the end it's now the Penguin's show, because Maroni is long gone, Falcone just got bumped, next in line is the Penguin, and he stood up there and lipped off knowing that Falcone was finished regardless.
Well, I'm curious, Mark.
Your trash,
Mark, I'm curious on your thoughts on that, because we talked about Earth 1, and in Earth 1, Penguin is the mayor for 20 years, and he knocks out Thomas Wayne basically to become the mayor, and with the setup of, Falcone was the mayor forever, is it now that it's in the state that Gotham is in, is it going to get to that kind of, the scum they're actually going to bring in a scum that, I don't think they will. It just was curious.
Well, they said it's going to get worse before it gets better. They're like in that article that we can get to when you want to get to it, that Matt Reeves did the interview. He said that his universe is not the origin of Batman. It's the origin of Batman's rogues. And this was rightfully so the origin of the Riddler and the origin of Penguin. Like this was seriously an origin for Penguin. We got his backstory. We got he's just a lackey in this. But at the end of it, he obviously, with that one statement he made to Falcone, just calling him trash to his face, that was ballsy. Not even knowing the man was going to get executed right there on the spot. And then at the end with the dialogue talking about how it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we're getting that shot of him up in the high rise looking out over what he considers his city now, he
was the right hand.
Yeah.
But let me put this out there to you guys. Put this thing out there that's been bothering me ever since I saw it. Batman does nothing relevant in this film. Everything that was supposed to happen, that the Riddler wanted to happen, happened. Was Batman important to this story other than his appearances on the screen?
But I think to your point, I understand where you're coming from. He was still growing and he was still learning. So he wasn't the Batman that's always 2 steps ahead.
No, he was the Batman that was 2 steps behind.
That's part of his learning process.
Did Mayor Real?
I'm not saying that sarcastically, by the way, guys.
I understand. Did Mayor Real die?
No, but she got
clipped
by a long range round.
I get what you're saying. I said, he didn't win this movie. Like that
No,
he did.
that's why I've said this is
Except
a
at the
super
end.
villain film, not a superhero
Yeah,
film.
except at the end when he did manage to stop the firing squad. That was his only true victory. The rest of it was him trying to play catch up, you know.
Yeah.
The movie turned at the end in his favor in the end when he was talking face to face with the Riddler. That when the Riddler lost it, that's when you realize like he didn't corrupt. Like that's when the Riddler's plan stopped working, and Batman started.
But the
getting
bombs
better.
still went off. The city still flooded. And anarchy still arose. Everything like lives were lost. Like you got to see a bus literally turn the wrong direction, and like Gotham. I want to say Madison Square, but Gotham Square Garden flooded out, collapsed. Who knows how many people hurt, injured, the whole 9 yards.
But
yeah, okay. So he knocked off the majority of the shooters. Catwoman had to come save him when he was about to take a
death shot.
A shotgun blast to the face.
Other
than lighting a torch.
Yeah, it speaks to the realism too of the movie. Like he wasn't going to be able to stop 7 bombs strategically placed throughout the city. So it just speaks to the realism and the grittiness of the movie. So at that point, they had to, like Mark said, that's when the tides turned. That face to face with the Riddler, and he just had to stop the copycats at that point. So it's like, yeah. So it ties back to the beginning where it's just like when the bat signal's out, and then there's the robbery going down with the drop head, the dudes on the train, and then there was another one. Like, where is he going to go? Who is he going to choose to save?
Again, that's where I drew that's where I draw this quite homage to 7.
But to go
Fincher's masterpiece is just okay. Everything that happens in 7 was going to happen regardless.
Yep.
The cops did catch him. We still had Brad Pitt turn around and say, "You're not even a movie of the week," and that kind of sentence was still said by Batman to the Riddler. It's the bad guys still win. In the end, everything that was supposed to happen in 7 happened. Everything that was supposed to happen, that the Riddler wanted to do happened.
Except the firing squad. That the one victory he had over him. That was it. That's all it was meant to be. Again, that's what makes this one unique. Go ahead, Greg.
And Riddler wanted Batman to be team with him. Like so that was nothing that To your point though, Chris, I agree. Batman didn't win this, and the stuff happened, the bombs blew up, and I'm okay with it from the aspect of, again, the setting that this movie is taking place in the Batman universe of what is trying to set up, because I feel like what's the biggest issue with Batman, every Batman event story that happens in comic books, you have a villain take over Gotham and Batman saves it at the last second, Dark Knight Rises, Batman saves the city at the last second, all these
he lost that whole movie.
He loses that whole movie. We'll lose it at the last second. He wins, and so I was okay with this. Of like, he won moments, but like overall, he didn't win. And because there's never going to be a win in Gotham, I think he's always going to be fighting because there's always going to be more coming up, and it's going to be which battles does Batman win, and trying to deal with this balance of he can't save everybody, he can't do everything like he wants to, because it takes it into it puts a little bit realism into it, I think. And I'm okay with that. I'm not disagreeing with you, Chris, that he didn't save at the end. And it's like, well, Batman kind of was a step behind at parts, but I don't like the idea that he was a step behind, because he was every riddle that Riddler gave him, he was right there. He was right there with it. It was the first kind of part where it felt like he was a step behind was when he goes, "Oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were." And then it realizes that there was this whole other, and he discovers that because of detectives like, "Oh, my father was a carpenter," or a carpenter.
So I think it's more, it's instead of looking at it like he didn't save Gotham, it's more of a matter of he's not trying to give up on Gotham. His goal isn't to save it. That's too lofty. His goal is just to not give up on it. That's just to be there, It's the whole thing of hope, he's not coming in trying to change it out of fear and vengeance. He's just trying to keep that hope alive for his city. It's bigger than him, and that's something that he's going to have to get playing with. The scene at the funeral when Mayor Real comes up to him and asking for Bruce Wayne's help. That's when we're going to see that he's going to need to get more active. That Batman can't do it by himself. He needs Gordon. He needs Bruce Wayne. That's why he's going to have to start figuring that part of himself out as well.
Yep, agreed.
I just
Do y'all
found
want to
it
get
tough.
in?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I
No,
was
no, you
just
go
going to say,
ahead.
I found it tough just because he only won the street level battles. When it came to taking on the Rogues Gallery, other than chasing down the Penguin, he didn't win. And
They shut down Catwoman
and
pretty
I got to
good.
agree with Bearded did kind of give me that epiphany moment. Okay, this is still year 2. I get it. And it's like I said at the top of the show. At 22, 23, I thought I knew everything. And this is kind of maybe a bit where it bit him in the ass, where he thought he was bigger than his britches, kind of thing, you know?
And
Yeah,
it's
definitely dealing with an inexperienced Batman.
because it's also setting the stage for more. It's the story's not done. I know it sounds like it was a complete story, but the story Matt Reeves is wanting to tell is not done. I mean, and again, you look back at Batman Begins, there was a big, there was a tragedy. Batman saved it. Dark Knight, Batman saved it at the end. Dark Knight Rises, Batman saved it at the end. And that's fine for that trilogy. I'm not knocking it because I love that trilogy. But I think what Matt Reeves is doing is saying he's telling an ongoing Batman series more of, he's telling his Snyder's run, he's telling his Tom King run of Batman that he wants to tell. And you're going to have those moments just like in comics where he doesn't get to that full completion of it. And I think now if we get to the third, if it's a trilogy and that's how it ended, I'd be 100% going, all right, y'all did Batman wrong. Like Batman needs to save the day finally at the end somehow. But I think with this, I think it's setting up of we're not going to get this. Oh, Batman saves every single thing perfectly at the end. The next movie, Batman saves everything perfectly at the end. Because I feel like people would say this is just a redone version of Nolan or whoever they want to compare it to.
Yeah, and I mean, I was okay with him not saving everything and everything being wrapped up in a bow. It's not realistic.
Right.
Y'all want to get into that cameo in that article real quick?
Let's do it.
So at the end of the movie, we get Paul Dano's the Riddler in what was it? Arkham. It wasn't called Arkham Asylum. It was called like Arkham Hospital or
was it Arkham Hospital?
Yeah, I think it was Arkham Hospital if I'm not mistaken. So he was obviously in a wing for prisoners. They're in cells in this hospital and they're not on ground level. And it looks like he's next to a cell with somebody who starts talking to him, trying to calm him down and making some comments about one day you're on top of the world, next day you just feel like a clown and stuff. And we get some very heavily shadowed shots of this character whose face doesn't have nice skin. It looks like he's been in the oven for a little too long. And I was thinking like, me and my wife both were like, I wonder if this is going to be Two-Face or something. And then we hear the clown dialogue and it's like, okay, it's obviously the Joker. We get to see a couple of shots where you can see like the distorted grin on his face and everything. And we basically Riddler and Joker have a little scene together at the end of it. And I forget what someone said earlier about the Joker or if Batman might have had a run-in with him, but Matt Reeves did an interview that came out, I think it was late Friday, they released the article where he talked about that scene and how there's actually a deleted scene because he filmed it and he just didn't feel like it just lended too much to a direction that he wasn't wanting to take it at the time, but it would also lean into Silence of the Lambs vibes because when Batman started getting letters from the Riddler, he started wondering, he's trying to criminal profile the guy. Why is he writing the Batman these letters? Why isn't it to the police or to someone else? Why is it Batman? So Batman goes to Arkham Hospital to have a conversation with another psychopath. And he goes to the Joker that's in there, who's not the Joker yet, like by name or anything like that. And the way that Matt Reeves, he's already like backstoried this Joker, that this Joker is not scarred from his dad or scarred from a gunshot wound. He was born this way. It's a physical deformity that he has where he's stuck grinning, and a lifetime of people looking at him wrong, making fun of him is what has drove him mad. And I don't think it was a physical deformity. It was like a disease. He likened it to a disease and not a real one that's on file. They haven't put a name to it or something, but that's what's up with this Joker.
Yeah. Like his facial muscles can't
relax. Yeah.
Like a type of Bell's palsy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So that's pretty
an interesting
twisted.
take.
Well, and I think, and he also made a note in this too. he also said the fact that you saw the Joker at the end of the movie, doesn't mean he's going to be the main person in the next movie. He makes that note.
Give us hush.
Number 3.
And I think that's a most brilliant move, because if they did that, if Joker became the main featured character, it's going to be, Batman Begins at the very end of the movie. They get the Joker card. Then it was Joker. Batman, the Batman. Joker
Reeves
shows up.
is smarter than that. He's clearly
smarter than that. So I think what he's doing is, because he mentions it too, is he's tying it into this idea of when he's saying that there are, when they're showing the Penguin and it's going to get worse and all of that aspect. He said he wanted that scene in there and not to put it at the end of an end credit scene or something, because he wanted to show there's the Penguin, there's the mob, there's people like Joker in Arkham Asylum, not necessarily meaning that he's going to be a key player, but I think you're going to get sprinkled into, we had so many different villains in this movie that that worked. Like, Chris, you said it's a super villain movie, and it is, but this is the first time it's a supervillain movie where the villains though still take a background to Batman. I think they still take a backseat to Batman as the character, where in almost every other Batman movie, the villains are the main, Batman takes a backseat to the villain. Batman takes a backseat to Joker in Dark Knight.
I would agree with that, but the performances are the ones that have been carrying a lot of the villains. Scarecrow's performance, I'm forgetting that Irish actor's name, and obviously
Cillian Murray.
Yes, Cillian Murphy, and these are wonderful actors, wonderfully celebrated actors too. So that's to me, that's one of the things. Just expand on what you're saying is, yes, it's often the villains outshine the Cape Crusader in films that we've had. It's just because they go out and they get the best of the best to act.
Well, it's also because Batman has the most famous and recognizable rogues gallery that's ever existed. Like that, dude, that's undeniable. Spider-Man is definitely second best. Like, I'm not even going to inflect. Spider-Man has a great one, but you don't top Batman's rogue gallery. Whether it's your favorite or not, it's still the most recognizable.
Let's just not go there. Come on.
No, I agree with Mark. But just overall, when that interaction happened, when you had the Joker talk his clown nonsense, then riddle me this, I rolled my eyes. I'm not gonna lie.
A little too camp for you?
I was just like, why?
Too
soon.
I kind of
thought. If it was Joaquin Phoenix, on the other
hand,
hand, that would have blew my mind. But I was just like, man. For me, it kind of felt like maybe the studio saying, dude, you have to put him in there. Joker just did $1 billion, highest grossing rated R movie of all time. We need the Joker. You have to tie the Joker into this somehow. It wasn't for me. That's probably the only thing that I didn't like about the movie is that cameo.
I will say, I wonder if this is, I get what you're saying, DJ, because I could have, as big of a Batman fan as I'm over Joker always being there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're talking my language.
Yeah. Me and Beard had a long drawn out Dick Tracy conversation one night backstage. It was good.
You guys always talk about dicks.
I know.
Of course.
But I think I would say, I wonder if Matt Reeves put that Joker scene in there to do this just shut up people of saying, oh, are we going to get Jared Leto Joker? Are we going to get Joaquin Phoenix Joker in this world? And I think he's going to just discard now of like, here's this Joker. It's going to be a secondary character in this universe, at least for another movie. There's no way he's going to be a headline.
So it's hard to think it was studio demanding of it, knowing that he had another scene in there that he had played out and worked out, like with the whole Silence of the Lamb inspired vibe. Right. So he obviously was, I think he was just doing more world building, and that's an easy one to go to. And what I mean, despite like the hard comic readers that are Jokered out, the general audience isn't. It's still the Joker to a general audience. You know what I mean? That's still an excitable character, and it just is what it is.
I kind of thought when I saw it was, did DC or Warner Brothers actually want to do this, or did Matt Reeves kind of push hard? Because we all know Joker 2 is coming. Like we're getting a second Joaquin Phoenix film. Like, why would they even go here? They keep talking about it. So I kind of thought, like, I don't know why are they going there after they literally said hush on the screen, literally said hush. And Hush is a fantastic character and one of the best stories that we've had in the last 15 years when it comes to Batman. Why don't we explore that and give us a Court of Owls? You know,
I
let's
don't
continue to see the Penguin rise with the Court of Owls in the background.
One at all.
I mean, it's also not stupid because look at what we're doing. We're talking about Joker. You still have the Riddler in this world. You still have the Penguin in this world. Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson have come out both and said they'd love to see Court of Owls and Mr. Freeze in a movie. You've got us talking about, we saw Hush on there. I mean, there's so many different ways that it can go. And so to throw out another, because everyone's going to always say you can't do a Batman movie without Joker. So, all right, we'll throw Joker in there too.
The other thought I had when I thought about it for a second time was, okay, I kind of, like I mentioned, I kind of feel like this film has a lot of quiet homages to things. Was this the singular homage to Nolan's original Batman film? Because we had that teaser of the Joker card. Was this that final homage that Reeves did do throughout the film, in my opinion, at least?
Okay, so Joker 2 has not been greenlit, for those that are wondering.
Okay.
That's not something that's actively happening right now. Whether it's being talked about or one thing, or they're rolling it around, it's not.
Yeah, it hasn't been greenlit.
It's not been greenlit. But it sure does get talked about a lot. I see stuff about it, and I just went and looked it up because I was just like, dude, I feel like I would have noticed that.
I do have one question to the panel here. Are we going to see Pattinson's world possibly in Flashpoint? Or would that be jumping the shark?
God, I hope not. Let these movies do what these movies do. Be themselves, where you're not bogged down by like beholding to some kind of bigger picture. This universe, this movie, this city is too big already to have to be contingent upon another person's vision. That's like as fun as the Marvel universe is, I would not want another one. I'm getting to the point where I don't always want this one, you know, like I just want to watch a movie and let it be like, let's see a good movie and a good story for what it is. How many times can you just do that? Like everything just leads to this, leads to that, leads to this. Like this was a phenomenal piece of film because it was self-contained. They were able to tell the story, dive into these characters, get real personal with them and everything. You would lose so much of that if you try to make it contingent upon someone else or a studio that cannot be trusted's vision.
Right. So that to go to that point, I would say this is, I don't think they would. I think what DC and Warner Brothers is doing now is saying, we dropped the ball, and Mark, don't kick me out the stream. We dropped the ball on the DC universe.
Absolutely.
We dropped the ball. We didn't do it the way, and I'm not knocking. I still love I love Aquaman. I even love Justice.
I watched Snyder Cut
all
today.
on there.
You did?
But I think what DC and Warner Brothers is doing is saying, hey, we have this universe that we've created, like the Peacemaker, the Suicide Squad, the Aquamans, the Flash, and I think now what they're saying is, what if rather than doing a DC universe, what if we make Batman universe? And that's why we're getting the TV show with HBO Max with the Gotham PD, you know, and it's the girl. We're getting a Penguin TV series. I think they're tying it into the HBO DC universe. They say, let's not worry about a DC universe where we're bringing a Batman, a human superhero, to try and hang out with gods and figure out how that works. And let's have a more grounded superhero universe, a street level superhero Batman, and have that universe have that be our MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Batman MCU rather than bringing in Aquaman and Superman and all of that. I would be shocked if they bring Flashpoint.
I don't know if the casual movie fan can keep up.
I don't know why they couldn't though, because
the casual movie fan
with MCU
2,900 movies deep in Marvel at this point and are doing fine. But I still think
that's one continuous line.
I still think DC. I still think you're going to start losing people real quick in that though, like general audience people. Like if Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness is your first MCU film, because I think every Marvel movie is numerous people's first Marvel movie, every one of them. So people are about to be scratching their head coming up. Like they're gonna have to do a Crisis or a 0 Hour. They're gonna have to do something to pull in the reins. They did it with Spider-Man already. You know, with that last movie, they tightened Spider-Man back up.
The same can be said if Zack Snyder's Justice League was your first DC film, and now you go and watch this. Okay, what's happening? What's happening? Is this supposed to be a young Affleck? you know. So
Well, I think
I'm
it'd be pretty
just
straightforward with that opening dialogue, though.
Yeah, to Chris's point, I didn't get a chance to answer your question. I would hate if Pattinson's Batman showed up in the Flashpoint movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's too dark for that.
If they did it, it would only have to be like a 5-second cameo, like Flash is kind of running past and seeing Colin Farrell in the window and then just going into another universe.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want that, like, to be honest, but that's just me.
But yeah, Hefe's question in the chat. There's a GCPD. They're doing a Gotham Central show, and they're using Jeffrey Wright is playing Commissioner Gordon in that, or
who is a long-standing HBO regular from Boardwalk Empire to Westworld. He is an HBO production familiar.
Yep.
Quite the coup to get that actor.
They've greenlit a Penguin show with Colin Farrell on board. Yep.
Oh, where?
So I was surprised to see that the upcoming Batgirl show is not intended for the Matt Reeves Batman stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think it was. That's why I didn't mention that in there.
Yeah, I
don't need to feel Max as well.
That's where it's like. I think DC's just doing this like getting to like the structuring of these universes, these cinematic worlds. DC's doing their movies like they're doing their comics. It's that straightforward. They're doing their movies like they're doing their comics. Flash is going to have ties to the Snyderverse. It's going to be bookending it. Like with the events of that, it's supposed to be closing it off. We're going to see Tim Burton's Batman in there with Michael Keaton for whatever involvement. We're supposed to be getting a Laura Lane Kent from the Injustice world. We're diving into the multiverse stuff with the Flash, so that'll be very like a lot of explanation for moviegoers. So by the time you saw the Snyder Cut, you saw the Suicide Squad, you saw the Batman, and you're going to have seen Black Adam. You're going to wonder how do these things tie together, and then they're going to answer it like per their universe with Flashpoint. I'm assuming. I mean that it makes perfect sense if you have a movie explaining multiverse stuff, but I don't think there's someone on the planet who hasn't seen Spider-Man yet, which already understands that comic books roll with the multiverse. This may sound crazy, but that's becoming common knowledge, just like how superheroes are household names who, when I was a kid, I would have never dreamed of. I was the only kid at my school who knew who half these comic book people were if they weren't on a Saturday morning cartoon. Now the term multiverse is household. That's pretty cool.
That's crazy. That's crazy because that's such a far out there concept to like the normal or casual comic book fan. It's awesome.
Did any of you kind of have the sense when you're looking at the mayor's son? Are we looking at a potential Robin here? Like, did any of you have that go through your mind?
I didn't, but it makes perfect sense. I'm not saying
I kept thinking it the entire time, like, is he like, are we teasing Robin?
I looked at it more it was teasing a little bit of Batman, Bruce Wayne's origin, a little bit more of a parent getting murdered, because he's in it, the kid's in a ninja costume. Kind of, I think it was that's what I would think, because I don't know if they're if they're gonna introduce a Robin into this world. I don't think it can be it can't be
they did say Bloodhaven.
They did say Bloodhaven, but
it existed before Nightwing got there, though.
Yeah,
I wonder if they were going to do it. I mean, if it has to be someone closer to his age, almost like they did with a Batman Forever, and that didn't work real well for people. So I just don't know. I don't see Robin coming into this world.
I don't think so either. I
don't know how they would pull it off. Not to say they won't or won't try, but I don't think a young kid works with this Bruce Wayne that we've gotten. And maybe the only way they could do it is that they take the Bruce Wayne growth character we talked about earlier on and do it in the second, see that in the second, and then maybe get it in the third. But
what are you, his ward?
Right.
I thought that's one thing I thought Snyder did very well when we had the Frank Miller inspired Batman, and we have post Robin Batman. That was something that was cool. And to a suit, the suit in this movie was really cool. I'll be honest with you guys, my favorite suit is still the Batfleck suit, just the style and the design of it. But I have loved pretty much every Batman suit that I have seen, like the gimmicky ones and all. And this suit, again, it stood as its own. It's recognizable as the Reeves era Batman suit, and it was tough, functional, it served its purpose. It took this skinny, pale emo kid, as people want to keep saying, and it turned him into a menacing character of stature. It was something.
It turned him into Darth Vader for a scene too.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, Hefe, chill.
His chest piece was the battering ring. That was pretty slick.
Yep.
That was cool.
I'm actually upset when there aren't bat nips.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
kind of
all-
weird.
I'm all
For those
for
that
that.
don't know, Schumacher put nips on Batman because he modeled the bat suit after the statue David. That's why there are nips on it.
On Clooney's suit, right?
It has nipples. Can you milk it?
Yeah, I got nipples. Greg, can you milk me?
I can't. God, I hated when that movie came out. I heard that.
Oh, hi, Mark. That's his oh, hi, Mark.
That's
awesome.
that's my oh hi Mark.
Yeah.
Mine's, I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me?
No, Dad.
Leave me alone.
Milk the cat.
All right, guys. Y'all, is there anything else y'all want to add or that didn't get talked about that y'all want to dive into or anything?
Nah, I mean, I'm good. I like just in summation, overall, I thought this film was a masterpiece. Keyword film. I didn't think it's a comic book movie. I think it's gonna stand alone. For me, obviously, I'm caught up in the moment. I'm caught up in the hype and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But it's up there for me. Like, this movie is phenomenal all the way around.
I appreciate you that, Dad. Sometimes I forget that you love me because Finn's here and he absorbs it all, but I appreciate you remembering.
Oh shit, your dad was around in '91.
Yeah, he's still around.
No, I'm just kidding.
Savage.
But I appreciate it. Everyone who's watching this, I'm sure knows you guys. But if y'all haven't already, all the people that you saw here tonight do have channels of our own. So if you're not subbed up to them, sub up to them, check them out. And all of us do very similar but very different content as well. Bearded especially has man, he really does have some original content going on there. And I always want to go back to the Mr. Miracle sandwich video because that's really when I'm like, I like this guy. But real quick, Greg, because you've never done it on this channel, shout out your channel. Tell people what they can find you doing, including Mrs. Bearded a lot.
Yeah, so Bearded Comic Bro. I do typically I've been out of commission a little bit because of some neck issues. So if you see me moving around so much, that's why. But typically every Monday I had drop an interview with the creator. It could be indie, DC, Marvel, Kickstarter. It doesn't matter. And I've got a really good one for you DC fans coming up and Marvel fans actually. So I definitely every Wednesday I do random content with it could be Batman keys, it could be cooking show, comic themed cooking shows with my wife. I'll do a series on where Mrs. Bearded reads a comic book where she doesn't read comics, and so I just give her a random comic and just random stuff that I find entertaining. And then every Friday night, my wife and I do a show called Name That Character, where we switch back and forth, quizzing each other on, hey, what do you do and which one, and do you know this character or not? So we just, again, a lot of random fun that I enjoy. But yeah, and the adrenaline, I like that. We didn't even talk about that. I love that part.
I
wasn't
assumed it was adrenaline and they made it
Yeah.
green just so it'd be a conversation starter.
I thought it was the
That or
way
just
that
the-
the light caught it.
Yeah, and just to make it stand out from the dark palette of the scene. But yeah, it wasn't.
I mean, but hey, if they go that Legends of the Dark Knight Venom series, where he gets jacked up on Venom because he's not strong enough to save a girl from drowning, like, let's go. Bring Bane in.
Well, I appreciate all you guys being here tonight and sacrificing your precious time to come hang out with me. This has been really fun. I can't say thank you enough. And to everybody who's watching, be sure to turn those notification bells on because me, the stereotype DC fanboy, am dropping a Marvel Grail video tomorrow, which is already available for those channel members with early access, and it is a legit Marvel Grail. And
Yes.
if you might not think it is right now, just give it 6 months.
No, it is. It definitely
Yeah,
is.
it's legit. And a big shout out to Paul and the Augusta Book Exchange for making that Grail a possibility. Chris.
Let's give away some books.
Oh, shit. I forgot. Dude, I did almost blank out. I've got a stack of books to give away to the channel members.
Nice.
You can
Just
all
send it to
type
me.
out thanks, Fat, in the chat.
Yeah, I
now.
don't want to thank Chris, but I would have ended up just having to go right back live just for the giveaway. Chris,
But,
plug your channel while I pull up the wheel. It's already ready. But I have to go.
Today on Two Cool Guys Swap Picks, a show that Mark and myself do, where we talk about 2 different comic books you may want to consider picking up for New Comic Book Day. This was a very special episode that Mark and I have been talking about for quite a long time.
Yeah, a
and
long time.
finally we got to do it. And it's out there, and the books that we recommend, normally I would be like, hey, you may want to pick it up. Please pick up these 2 books. They are going to be terrific. I don't promise things very often, but I promise these are going to be very good books.
Yeah, we talk about that. We talk about that promise too. Let's see if they can catch lightning in a bottle twice. Let's see what they got.
And tomorrow I'm opening a mystery box from Shop for Comics. And Shop is a good dude. He's always I'm finding in people's chats and leaving comments. And so I was happy to support Shop. And it turned out to be a terrific mystery box. You may want to check it out. And Wednesday, it's open invitation to hang out and show us what you got for New Comic Book Day.
Hell yeah. DJ's going to open a mystery box. It's what he does. I got your back, bro.
DJ Links
This is what I
In
do.
the building.
Wow, I lost. I can't even talk. I'm about to win this Legion loot box.
Here we go. So for those that don't know, every month I do a giveaway for the channel members in the Legion tier, which is kind of ironic. They're both named the Legion tier. They're just different capitalization to them. So be sure to read the fine print. But
I see you, Dale.
if you haven't already, be sure to consider joining the channel. Hit that join button. It doesn't automatically charge you, but you can read what it involves. You get loyalty badges next to your name that's how those people in the chat have those, in case you were wondering. You also get access to the custom emojis, and there are more than those. And I need to upload some more. I have like 4 more that I'm able to upload. But it is sponsored by Big Time Collectibles. So if you've never checked out their store, you're really missing out. They drop some of the sweetest exclusives in the game. They work with some real top tier talent. And I want to show off these books real quick that'll be given away tonight. So from Big Time Collectibles and Brian Israelio, you have Faithless 3. I'm actually not familiar with this series, but it's a wicked cover. We have a Kale new TMNT. I don't know what issue number it is, but it's the Virgin variant of it. And then we have that Venom issue. What was that, 2 or 3 that was that key?
4.
That just
4.
That's 4.
This is the first appearance of Bedlam or something like that. And this was that sought after, obviously ASM 300 homage, but it's the Big Time Collectibles exclusive version where it's the Virgin variant of it. So that's a good one to have. And then that Miko Suyon Batman 118 first appearance of Abyss, just gorgeous cover.
Wow.
How to give away some awesome Batman. And
Never seen
then
that before.
this is the Peacemaker
So Chevy.
special box here. So we got they're just the month that they did the Peacemaker variants. I went ahead and picked them up. If you did not watch the Peacemaker show, you are an idiot. And if you,
shit, Jesus Christ. Peacemaker show was
DJ agrees,
amazing.
and that was my favorite one. And because we can't spend all night long talking about the franchise without doing my man Chris right, we'll be giving away that CBCS 9.8 Ryan Brown exclusive, signed by Ryan Brown of ASM 25, graciously donated to the channel by the one, the only Hefe. Dude, I cannot thank you enough. So if Hefe wins this box, I'll spin it again, because I'm assuming if he donated this as a giveaway, he wants it to give away. If he wins the box, I'm going to give him the box, and I'll spin it a second time for the slab, and I'll ship them out separately to make sure it goes down as intended. So here we go. Thank you to all the channel members in the tier, and let's see who tonight's winner is going to be.
DJ Links, because it's rigged.
The comic.
Oh, that was close, DJ. Mr. Paul Cook, Sector 2815. Awesome.
Congrats, Paul.
Great
if you
dude.
didn't enjoy
Deserves
the
it.
Peacemaker, you're probably a butterfly head. No, but legit, it was a phenomenal show, and if you haven't watched it, be sure to go check it out. You're missing out on some unique greatness. DC it has not missed since the Snyder Cut. Whether it's your preference or not, it was quality, untampered with. It was, in my opinion, it's still my favorite superhero movie that I've seen. It is.
That's what happens when you let the creators see their visions all the way through.
Snyder
Yeah,
Cut, Suicide
great
Squad,
product.
Peacemaker, the Batman. They're swinging.
Just let them create.
The creators create,
even the Joker.
That sounds so
film
weird. Let
stood
a
alone,
creator
very
create.
well
What?
done.
Yeah, it's weird. Like they hire these people to do something, and then they're like, "Nah, you shouldn't do it this time."
We don't want Superman to fly.
That's ludicrous.
What?
That's what they told Kevin Smith, right, on the Superman movie that he was writing. We don't want him to fly.
Nicolas Cage. He doesn't need a cape.
Ugh.
Give him a mullet.
Yeah, so I'll reach out to Paul. Being like that's part of like everybody who's a channel member is easily. I actually talk to all these people every day, so Paul will know he's never able to make the live. He does work. We do these late on a Sunday night. Yeah, but Paul's the one that donated that original art page from Green Lantern Annual to the 1K giveaway. So definitely deserves a win. I actually just sent him some stuff too. So this one's right behind it. All right. So yeah, thank you all again for coming. Congratulations, Paul. Until next time, guys, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.